Hey everybody, welcome back to Ravenstead. It's time for another build. I'm going to continue the Hidden Valley series. I've got the next 4 tiles ready to go. This one's going to have a stream running through it. So I wanted to build all 4 tiles together. I've got them taped together just so I can match everything up. I'm going to use some blades here. I don't cut myself, so don't worry about that. I had to come up with a way of cutting out this creek. So I made some plunging cuts on the ends, and then angled or beveled cut down the edges of the creek, and then I'll start picking out the foam. They do make hot wire cutters that you can shape. That would have been handy for that. I'm just going to use the back of this knife here to pry out the pieces that I've already carved through. So I'll just continue this process right on through all 4 tiles. I kept it pretty shallow. Didn't want the piece to flex. Speaking of flexing, hung all that blade out there so that I could kind of bend it, there you go, right to the contour of the creek. That way I can keep the depth pretty much the same all the way across. There we go. I'm just picking these pieces out. Was a little fussy, but not too bad. So that's 1 tile done. We'll just work our way all the way across. Got to make sure everything matches up. Here again, I'm flexing that craft knife in there to make sure I get the transitions between the 2 tiles as close as I can. Alright, all 4 tiles are cut in. Thought I should do a little bit of contouring on the edge just to add some variance. So I'm just going to make some slicing cuts here and remove some of the sides to kind of make embankments. I'm going to add boulders and some aggregate to the creek bed. I wanted to make sure everything was textured in. Using a little ball of rolled up aluminum foil to kind of texture in all those factory surfaces. And then took little pieces of foam, chipped away what I wanted until I got the size boulder that I wanted, and then hot glued those right in. That'll give us the opportunity to add some cool ripple effects to the water. Speaking of the water, I decided to use gloss Mod Podge for the creek. In retrospect, I wish I had used resin or some other technique, but we'll work through it. It's pretty interesting. You know, if you make mistakes or something doesn't turn out the way you want it, just keep going, don't give up. Painting on a little bit of PVA glue in here, and then sprinkling on some fine clay cat litter. It's clean cat litter. And then putting in a little bit of watered down PVA glue. That kind of locks everything together. I liked using the cat litter. It's clay based, so the bentonite kind of soaks into the glue and gets a real good bond. And then if you drop any on your floor, it just kind of crushes, so you don't get any annoying gravel stuck in your shoes. I did kind of loosen up my technique here. Instead of sprinkling it on, I just kind of poured it on and then knocked off the excess and then soaked it through with that watered down PVA glue to kind of lock it all in. Now we're going to black bomb these pieces out. Just a mixture of Mod Podge and black acrylic paint. Get everything coated. That also helps to kind of hold all that aggregate down. It gives us good base for shadows for our dry brushing. I'll start out with a little bit of slate gray, dark gray, and that'll go over everything, highlighting the rocks and the sides. This is the same paint scheme that I've used for tiles 1 through 4 on the Hidden Valley build, so I'm just kind of continuing those colors so we get a good match between all our tiles. This is a little bit of light gray and then parchment. And then a little bit of light brown. I didn't clean my brush from paint to paint, so they do kind of blend out a little bit. And then I'll put in a little bit of green. Then it'll be time to paint the creek bed. So I'm going to start with a dark gray right down the center, and then a bright blue. And I'm doing a wet on wet technique, so the paints I'm just blending them right on the terrain. And then a little bright green. Again, just blending those in. I want the values to go from darker to lighter, blue to green as you get to the edge of the creek. Just working those around the boulders. That was really bright. You can just keep going. Don't worry about it. Those were a little bit too bright, so I added a little bit of brown in there to muddy it down. And then just keep at it till you get the values that you like. And a little bit of ripple effect here. Just want to show some current coming off of those boulders. So while I was painting this piece, I was thinking in my mind the effect that resin gives you on water. So all those undertones there, I'm thinking, are going to show up, but they don't show up as well under gloss Mod Podge. But we'll get back to that. So we're going to do some washes on this piece. The first one is a burnt umber acrylic ink mixed with water. A little bit of bright green. And these are all going on wet, so they kind of blend in together. A little Vallejo rust wash. Splatter that on and then kind of blend it in with the brush. And this piece is ready for flocking. Now that it's dry, I'm going to paint on a little bit of PVA glue here and there. I'm intentionally leaving some gaps and being careful not to get any on the creek bed, so I don't really want flocking in there. Just sprinkle on some fine flocking and then knock off the excess, and then I'll go in with a little bit of PVA glue and stick down my homemade mix, which is just preserved lichen and a little flower flocking. It's just a subtle indication of some different terrain. A little bit more of that watered down PVA glue and some medium flocking. And I did that on all 4 tiles. A little bit of fine flocking there to kind of blend it all together. That soaks into that glue. Alright. Now we're going to need some foliage along here. A couple pieces of clump foliage and a little bit of lichen here and there. I really liked how that boulder turned out. That was kind of cool. Got to have all these bushes in here for the birds to hang out. Little squirrels have places to hide. I'll get all this foliage on, and then it's time for the Mod Podge. I know some of you are going to watch this and be like, what are you doing? And upon reflection, yeah, what am I doing? I would have, it probably would have worked if I had just painted on thin layers. But I went ahead and just treated this stuff like it's resin. And that's a mistake. I don't recommend using Mod Podge this way. I think if you wanted to give it a glossy appearance, the appearance of water, that would work. It doesn't really give you that much depth. I did have a little problem with air bubbles as well. But you know what? We just keep going. There we go. And a week later, still got some areas that aren't completely dry. So I mixed up a little PVA glue and baking soda to kind of cover over. So we're just going to work with our mistakes here. Not a big deal. Just adding in some texture behind those boulders. It worked out. I got lucky. And then I mixed up some white wash. It's just titanium white acrylic paint mixed with water, about 50-50 or so. And then started painting that in. And that gave a pretty good indication of movement of the water. So after a little bit of drying, this piece is done. Let me spin it for you. You can get a closer look. There it is. Hidden Valley, Part 5. The stream. So that's tiles 5 through 8. A little fast moving stream cutting its way through the valley. There it is with the other tiles. Appreciate you watching, guys. Make sure you leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear some ideas on how you would approach doing water effects. Appreciate you watching another video. Thanks.